So today's video is about development of eye. So first of all, you should know neural plate. So as you know that this is ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, this is notochord. So here basically the portion of ectoderm lying over the notochord becomes thickened to form a structure, and that thickened structure forming over a notochord is known as neural plate. So therefore I have written that the thickened portion of ectoderm lying over the notochord is known as neural plate, and this neural plate gives rise to neural tube. So this is the neural tube. So now I will discuss you about the divisions of neural tube. So here you can see that there are three divisions. The first one is the prosencephalon, second one is the mesencephalon, and the third one is about a rhombencephalon. So therefore that I have written that divisions of neural tube: prosencephalon, mesencephalon, rhombencephalon. Now, so here that this neural plate derived from ectoderm, and this neural tube derived from neural plate. So therefore basically this prosencephalon, mesencephalon, rhombencephalon, they are derived from both ectoderm as well as from neural tube. So therefore all the divisions of neural tube, they are neuroectodermal in origin. So now I will discuss you about the optic sulcus. So this is a prosencephalon. So now initially if you see that in the prosencephalon there is no outgrowth, but now as you can see here that in this prosencephalon basically neuroectodermal outgrowth occurs, and this neuroectodermal outgrowth of prosencephalon leads to formation of optic sulcus. So see I have written that, so a neuroectodermal outgrowth of prosencephalon is known as optic sulcus. And why neuroectodermal outgrowth? Because this prosencephalon is neuroectodermal in origin. No, not only prosencephalon, in fact mesencephalon and this rhombencephalon, all divisions of neural tube, they are neuroectodermal in origin. So therefore optic sulcus clear. So now you can see, please see in this diagram that if you see that that this is the optic sulcus initial. So here this is the initial optic sulcus. Now here that this is the proximal portion of optic sulcus which is towards the prosencephalon. Now here if you see, as compared to the previous one, that this proximal portion has become narrowed, but this distal portion remains dilated. As a result, that this proximal portion is now called optic stalk, and this distal portion now known as optic vesicle. So therefore that I have written that the proximal portion of optic sulcus becomes narrow, and this proximal portion is towards the prosencephalon, and this narrowing leads to a structure known as optic stalk. Now again if you see that the distal portion of optic sulcus remains dilated, and this distal portion away from the prosencephalon leads to a structure formation, and that structure is known as optic vesicle. So proximal portion known as optic stalk and distal portion known as optic vesicle. Now you have to understand what is lens placoid. So now here you should know that that with respect to this optic vesicle, basically surface ectoderm lie. Now here if you see that similar in the case of neural plate formation, so here you can see here that this is the portion of surface ectoderm, so here lying over the optic vesicle. You can see here that this portion of surface ectoderm lying over the optic vesicle becomes thickened to form a structure, and that thickened structure formed over the optic vesicle is known as lens placoid. So here I have written that the surface ectoderm lying over the optic vesicle thickened to form a structure, and that thickened structure is known as lens placoid. Now so here you can see here that initially that this lens placoid lies exactly at the layer of surface ectoderm, but now if you see this lens placoid, so here separates from the layer of surface ectoderm, and here and that this leads the formation of lens vesicle. So here I have written that when the lens placard sinks below the layer of surface ectoderm, that means it sinks, so here separates also from this layer of surface ectoderm. Now that lens placard known as lens vesicle. Now here what is optic cup? So here now initially if you see the optic vesicle, it is only so here a single layer. But now if you see that this optic vesicle, it has two layers, see, one layer, first, second, two layer, and this double layer is due to differential growth of the optic vesicle wall. Why that means occurs? Because of differential growth of the optic vesicle wall. So now, so basically that this double layer optic vesicle is known as optic cup, and here and this optic cup formation occurs simultaneously with the formation of lens vesicle. So therefore I have written that simultaneously during the formation of lens vesicle, the shape of optic vesicle changes. And now the optic vesicle has two layers, and that two layer optic vesicles is known as optic cup, and the region is also differential growth of the optic vesicle wall. So now the next part that I want to discuss is about only the separation of lens vesicle. So here if you see that initially that this lens vesicle is in contact with the surface ectoderm. But now here you can see that this lens vesicle completely separated from the surface ectoderm. And this happens during the 23rd month of intrauterine life. So therefore I have written that the lens vesicle gets separated from the surface ectoderm. Now the lens vesicle, so here becomes lens. Now this lens vesicle, that is, will become lens in future, but now it is completely separated. Now you have to understand what is choroidal fissure. So now initially if you see that this optic cup is not enclosing over the lens. Now also if you see, but now here if you see that this optic cup, so here has started to enclose lens vesicle completely from this superior surface and from both the sides also, but it has incompletely enclosed this lens vesicle from the inferior surface. So therefore that I have written that the margins of optic cup grow over the superior and lateral, basically sides of the lens vesicle completely, but except the inferior side. See that this inferior side is empty because complete enclosure doesn't occur in the inferior side. So here now if you see that as a result that with rest in the inferior side, with respect to this lens vesicle, that is an opening created, and that opening is known as choroidal fissure. So this is what I have written, that choroidal fissure. So this is choroidal fissure. So now I am going to discuss here about the primary and secondary fibers. So now this is a lens vesicle. So this is lens vesicle. You can see here that initially, so this is the anterior wall and this is the posterior wall and this is the cavity. So now initially if you can notice that both the anterior and this is the equatorial region, so both the anterior and posterior wall, they contains a single layer of cuboidal cell. So therefore that I have written that initially in the lens vesicle, both the anterior and posterior walls contain a single layer of cuboidal cells. So this is the initial condition. But now here you can see here that this is a posterior wall. So here basically the cells of the posterior wall, so here converted from columnar, from cuboidal to columnar. And also you can see here that initially the cavity of lens vesicle was large, but slowly due to that is growth or elongation of these columnar cells or the conversion of cuboidal to columnar cells, that this cavity of lens vesicle is started to get obliterated. So therefore that I have written that the anterior, but till now this anterior wall is same. The anterior wall remains cuboidal, but the posterior wall cells converted into columnar cells and they are slowly obliterating the cavity of lens vesicle. Now here if you see that this cavity of lens vesicle has been completely obliterated, and this posterior wall cell secrete fibers, and this posterior cells, so here secrete fibers, and now the primary fibers form. So here you can see that finally the cavity of lens vesicle obliterated, and the posterior columnar cell secrete fibers called primary fibers. Now about secondary fibers. So basically you can see here that this is the equatorial region, and here that, and this equatorial cell regions also secrete fibers, basically secondary fibers. So here I have written that the cells of the equatorial region also secrete secondary fibers. That's all about today's video. So today you have learned about what are the divisions of neural tube, important points, what is optic sulcus, what are optic vesicle and optic stalk, and what is lens placard and what is lens vesicle, and here basically optic cup, choroidal fissure, primary and secondary fibers. That's all about. So today's video is about development of retina. So first of all, that as you already know what is optic cup, and you already know that is optic cup, so here derived from optic vesicle, and this optic vesicle is neuroectodermal in origin. So that's all about. Now I want to here discuss about the divisions of here optic curve. So here you can see that this optic curve, so from the portion of optic curve, so here above this line is the anterior part, and the portion of optic curve, so here behind after this line is known as posterior part. So therefore that this posterior part and anterior part, and you can also see that this anterior part is small but this posterior part is large. That's all. So here you can see that the optic curve divided into anterior and posterior part. Anterior part is thin and small, and posterior part is large. Now here you can see that in this posterior part also there are two layers. So here basically the outer layer is thin but the inner layer is thick. So therefore that I have written that this posterior part has inner and outer layers. So here further divisions or study of the posterior part. So here posterior part of optic curve. So here basically this is the outer layer and this is the inner layer. As I already mentioned, that is posterior part has only outer and inner layers. Now here if you see the derivatives of these layers, derivatives, you can see that this so here that is outer layer converted into a black pigmented layer, whereas this, so here inner layer converted into a nervous layer. So here that's all I have written that is the outer layer of the posterior part of optic curve. So here forms the pigmented layer, whereas the inner layer of the posterior part of optic curve converted into this nervous layer. So first pigmented layer and nervous layer. So now I want to further describe about further divisions of nervous layer. As you can see here, basically that is nervous layer is also gets divided into further three parts, basically matrix, mental and marginal. So therefore that I written that is the nervous layer of the optic curve, or the nervous layer of the posterior part of optic curve got divided into three layers, matrix, mental and marginal. Now so here basically I want to here discuss the derivatives of each of these parts. So therefore derivatives of nervous layer. So first, so matrix, mental, and marginal, these are the derivatives, these are the here different divisions of nervous layer. So first of all let's discuss about the derivatives of matrix. So therefore that you can see here that this matrix, so here it forms basically two important cells, basically rods and cones, and you know that basically that these rods and cones, so here in normal human, basically that they here help in seeing the vision. Basically rods, they are responsible for night vision, and cones, so here they are responsible for day vision. daylight vision, or you can say daylight vision. And here, as you know, that basically that these cone cells, they are responsible for responding to colors, different colors, but these rods, they can't so respond to different colors like red cone, green cone, all these different types of cones are there, and due to these different types of cones, so here people can receive different primary colors, red, green, blue. So therefore, so that's about a further information. But for embryologically, that you should know that this matrix forms. So here two types of cell, rods and cones. So here nodes are for night vision and cones are for daylight vision. So therefore, I have written that matrix forms rods and cones of the future retina. So again, derivatives of, so here mental layer, as you can see here, that is mental form. So here bipolar cells, ganglionic cells, amacrine cells and horizontal cells. And here we see amacrine cells and horizontal cells, which, so here all these type of cells act as, so here supportive neurons of retina. So therefore that I have written that mental layer forms bipolar cells, ganglionic cells and other neurons of retina like amacrine cells and horizontal cells. So now I want to discuss here about the derivatives of marginal layer. But before discussing the derivatives of marginal layer, so here that you should understand that, so here first of all, that is ganglionic cell. So here it is present in the, so here basically mental layer, but that each axon you can see here that extends into this marginal layer. Now slowly you can notice that due to extension of the axons of these ganglionic cells into these marginal layers, that so here that in this marginal layer, so here basically layers of nerve fibers, you can see that these are the layers of nerve fibers. So therefore that this marginal layer converted into a layers of nerve fibers due to extension of this axon of ganglionic cell. So therefore that due to the extension of axons of ganglionic fibers, the marginal layer got converted into a layer of nerve fibers. So therefore basically the derivative of a margin layer, if you want to know, so your margin layer forms nerve fibers. So finally that it is the initial optic stalk. So now here you can see that is pigmented layer formed by this outer layer, and that is inner nervous layer forms these layers of rods and cones, layers of bipolar, so here layers of bipolar ganglionic cells, and also basically, and this marginal layer forms layers of nerve fibers. Now so here that initially you can see here that this is the optic stalk and this is the, so here so these are the layers of nerve fibers. But now you can notice that slowly that these layers of nerve fibers are migrating into optic stalk. And here you can see that due to migration of this optic stalk of nerve fibers into this optic stalk, that is optic stalk gets converted into optic nerve. So that's the formation of optic nerve. So therefore I written that due to the migration of, so here due to the migration of nerve fibers, so here into this optic stalk, the optic stalk got converted into optic nerve. So here in this optic nerve form. So finally, so here that this is the formation. So here basically formation of retina. So here basically in fetus, and here it is in the newborn baby. So here that you can notice that in fetus is a pigmented layer, and this is the, so here nervous layer, basically layers of, so here layers of rods and cones, layers of ganglionic cells and bipolar cells, and layers of nerve fibers. And these are also present in, so here these are also present in the, so here in newborn baby. But additional you can notice that in case of that in fetus, that between this nervous layer and this pigmented layer, that is one, an additional space is present, as you can notice. And this additional space which is present between this pigmented layer and this nervous layer is known as intraretinal space. So therefore that I written that in fetus there is a space present between the pigment layer and nervous layer, and already you know. So here nervous layer consists of layers of roots and cones, layers of ganglionic cells, bipolar cells, other neurons, and layers of nerve fibers. But the space which is present between this pigmented layer and nervous layer is known as intraretinal space. Now here basically question arises basically why this intraretinal space disappears. So here before birth, as it is not present in newborn baby, the main reason is that due to proliferation of the neurons of this inner cell layer. So therefore I have written that with the proliferation of the nervous cells or the neurons of the inner cell layer, the intraretinal space disappears, and therefore it is absent in newborn baby. And now basically what is the cause of the formation of this intraretinal space? I am going to tell now. So first of all, as you already know that this prosencephalon has cavity as well as wall. Now from this prosencephalon, that is optic sulcus form, and this optic sulcus later gets converted into optic vesicle and optic stalk, and later this optic vesicle becomes optic curve. So therefore, so here basically that is optic curve, a vesicle becomes optic curve. So therefore that you can also see that if this now that is optic curve derived from this prosencephalon, and as I already mentioned that this prosencephalon has cavity, so therefore that is optic curve also has cavity, and due to the cavity of that optic curve, that is intraretinal space appeared. So this is the main reason. So therefore why? So therefore I have written that intraretinal space formed due to the cavity of optic curve, and this optic curve has cavity as it is derived from prosencephalon. So now I want to discuss here about the development of cornea. So here as you already know that this is the optic stalk, and here and around the optic stalk, so here mesodermal layers are present, and these mesodermal layers are also divided into two parts. So here basically superficial and inner. So here superficial mesodermal layer and inner mesodermal layer. Now, so therefore I have written that there are, so here basically mesodermal layers around the optic stalk and optic curve. But now that these mesodermal layers later form mesenchyme, so therefore that so here I have also written that superficial mesenchyme and here inner mesenchyme. So therefore that there are mesenchymes around the optic stalk and optic curve, and these mesenchymes obtained from mesoderms. Now here basically that this is the same diagram that this is a superficial mesenchyme, inner mesenchyme, optic curve. So now later you can see here that their derivatives. So here if you want to know their derivatives, that their derivatives is simple, that this, so here superficial mesenchyme forms dura mater, and this inner mesenchyme forms, you can see here, pia and arachnoid mater. For that I have written that the superficial mesodermal layer or the superficial mesenchyme forms dura mater, and the inner mesodermal layer and the inner mesenchyme forms pia mater. Now, so here that this is, so here these are the layers of cornea. Basically there are 5 layers: corneal epithelium, basically non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, Bowman's capsule, substantia nigra, descens membrane, and posterior cuboid epithelium. Basically there are 5 layers, and all these 5 layers you have to study in histology also. So now as you can see here that this Bowman's capsule, that is a Bowman's capsule, substantia nigra, and descens membrane, and posterior cuboid epithelium, that all these 4 structures derive from a single layer, which is superficial fibrous mesodermal layer, whereas that this corneal epithelium derived from surface ectoderm. So therefore I have written that is a superficial fibrous mesodermal layer or a superficial fibrous mesenchyme forms the following parts of cornea: basically Bowman's layer, substantia nigra, descens membrane, and posterior cuboid epithelium. And the surface ectoderm, as I written that this corneal epithelium derived from surface ectoderm, that the surface ectoderm forms the corneal epithelium or a superficial surface epithelium. And here, and if you want to see that this is a diagram of epithelium in the normal human eye. So here that you can see here that is a pink color portion is the epithelium, superficial epithelium. It is formed from the surface ectoderm, and this, so a silver color portion. So here it is it contains so here Bowman's membrane, substantia nigra, so and a Descemet's membrane and posterior cuboid epithelium, and all these layers obtained from mesoderm. So therefore mesodermal derivatives. So surface epithelium and this mesodermal derivatives together form the normal adult corneal structure. That's all. Now so basically so today you have learned about development of retina and cornea. So basically if you can see that that this so here a retina, so here obtained from this optic curve, and you already know that this optic curve obtained from, and this optic curve obtained from basically prosencephalon, and this prosencephalon, so here you can see here basically that it is a division of neural tube, and all divisions of neural tube, they are so here ectodermal in origin. So therefore basically so here retina is ectodermal in origin. But if you want to see that this cornea, so if you want to see that cornea, so here basically that this cornea, so here derived from the mesodermal layers as well as from ectodermal layers. So therefore cornea is ectodermal as well as mesodermal in origin. I'm going to write. So a very important part. So here prosencephalon is neuroectodermal in origin, as already discussed. Now here that this prosencephalon forms optic curve, and therefore optic curve is also neuroectodermal in origin, and this optic curve forms retina. So therefore retina is also neuroectodermal in origin. Now here cornea derived from surface ectoderm and mesoderm. So therefore cornea is ectodermal and mesodermal in origin. So that's all about today's video. I hope that this video helps you a lot. So thank you for watching the video. Please stay tuned. So let's discuss about development of choroid. So first of all, as you know that this is optic stalk, this is optic curve, this is inner mesenchyme, and this is outer mesenchyme. So this inner mesenchyme, so here shown in blue color, and this optic stalk, so here shown in golden or yellow color. Now further development, and as you know that from the optic curve, that is retina develops, and during the development of retina, that this optic stalk already gets converted into optic nerve. So from this optic curve, so retina develops, and this optic stalk converted into optic nerve. And here you can see that during this development, that is the inner mesenchyme, so here develops into choroid. Now so here choroid develops. Now here further information, so here that this is the anterior side and this is the posterior side. So this is the anterior part, this is the posterior part. So here you can see here that the anterior extension of this choroid leads to the formation of ciliary body. So see, so this is the anterior extension, so here ciliary body formed due to this anterior extension of the choroid. So therefore ciliary body and choroid, they are formed from the inner mesenchyme. So that is what I have written, that is the inner mesenchyme develops into choroid. So here see, this is the inner mesenchyme and this develops into choroid, and here, and you can see this is the anterior part, and the anterior extension is basically of choroid is basically ciliary body. The choroid is continuous with ciliary body anteriorly and optic nerve posteriorly. So see at the posterior side, so here it continues. So now let's discuss about the development of ciliary body and iris. So here again this is optic stalk, optic curve, inner mesenchyme, and this is outer mesenchyme. So here now that this optic curve divided into parts. So here basically that this is a posterior part, this is a posterior part, and this is the anterior part. And you already know that or a development of retina is that this posterior part of optic curve has outer layer, inner layer, and this outer layer develops into pigmented layer, and this inner layer develops into nervous layer. So therefore, and this nervous layer divided into further 3 layers, and further, so here rods, cones, so here basically bipolar ganglionic cells, these are formed. So basically that this, so here posterior part of optic curve leads to a development of retina, but you already know that this optic curve has posterior part as well as anterior part. Now that this anterior part also will lead to a development of iris. I am going to show you. So as you can see here that this posterior part of optic curve divided into retina, and this, so here inner mesenchyme develops into choroid, and this choroid is in continuous with the optic nerve. So here posteriorly, now here that is the anterior extension of this choroid leads to the formation of ciliary body, and further extension also leads to iris. Now as you can see here basically that this anterior part of optic curve remains, so here it does not develop into retina. So therefore as you can see here slowly it is extended into this iris. Now so therefore all these formations are written that ciliary body and iris develop due to anterior extension of choroid. So here that you can also see here that due to this anterior extension, so here iris develop, but in iris musculatures like to cause dilatation and constriction of pupil, basically muscles required, but these muscles have not been developed yet. So therefore complete development of iris has not been done. So therefore ciliary body and iris develop due to anterior extension of choroid, and you already know that from this posterior part, that is from this posterior part of optic curve, so here retina develops. So therefore that from the posterior part of optic curve retina develops, and the anterior part of optic curve, so here extending into the iris. Now here you can see here due to this complete extension, now this anterior part of optic curve is not there. It completely goes into this iris to form the musculature of iris. So therefore that I written that the anterior part of optic curve, so here that is forms the musculature of iris. So here musculature of iris basically, so here sphincter papillae muscle, sphincter papillae, and so here sphincter papilla and dilator papilla. So here that these two muscles are present, and due to this basically, so here basically contraction and dilatation of pupil occur. So that's about development of iris and choroid and ciliary body. So now let's discuss about development of sclera. So here friends you can see here that this is the inner mesenchyme, outer mesenchyme, optic curve, optic stalk, and lens vesicle. And as you have already known that this inner mesenchyme develop into choroid, and the anterior extension leads to formation of ciliary body and iris, and this optic curve develops into retina. Now here mention about this outer mesenchyme, which is shown in green color. As you can see here, as I already mentioned, so here basically that this optic nerve, retina development, choroid, ciliary body, iris and musculature of iris develop from this optic curve and the inner mesenchyme. And the green color basically the outer mesenchyme, as you can see here, it develops into sclera. And again just like the choroid, so here that this is the anterior part, and here and this is the posterior part. Now here you can see here basically the anterior extension of this sclera, so here basically leads to the formation mesodermal part of cornea. And here, and if you want to know what are the parts of cornea developed by this mesodermal part, basically Bowman's capsule, Bowman's membrane, substantia nigra, Descemet's membrane, and inner endothelia. So therefore I have written that sclera develops from the outer mesenchyme. And also you can see here basically the anterior extension of sclera leads to development of the following parts of cornea. So Bowman's membrane, substantia nigra, Descemet's membrane, and inner endothelia. and this outer mesenchyme also known as a superficial fibrous mesodermal layer, and this leads to formation of the following parts of cornea. So basically these are the four parts, and the surface ectoderm leads to formation of, so basically, corneal epithelia. So here also that same part gets repeated. So here that is mesodermal part leads to development of these layers, and this surface ectoderm, and this surface ectoderm leads to development of the corneal epithelium of cornea. So that's all about a development of sclera. So now let's discuss about a development of vitreous humor, vitreous or vitreous chamber. So here again just like this, so here optic curve, so here this is the optic stalk, so here optic stalk, so here this is inner mesenchyme, and this is the outer mesenchyme, and this is the choroidal fissure. Now here you can see here that this inner mesenchyme, so here slowly migrating into this optic stalk through this choroidal fissure, and as a result basically what is from vitreous humor. So therefore I have written that vitreous humor develops due to inner mesoderm migration into this optic stalk. So now let's discuss about a development of anterior and posterior chambers of eye. So again that this is the outer mesenchyme, inner mesenchyme, optic cup, optic stalk. As you can now see in this diagram, so here you can see here that this inner mesenchyme is splitting into parts. Now here you can see as a result of this splitting, anterior and posterior parts are formed. So therefore that I have written that the splitting of mesenchyme or inner mesodermal layer occurs, and this mesoderm lies in front of lens vesicle, and also as a result anterior and posterior parts form. Now so therefore that due to this splitting, that mesenchyme divide into anterior and posterior parts. Now here you can see here it is a optic cup, anterior and posterior part. Now a process is happening, basically vacuolization. So here you can see here that due to this vacuolization process, in each part, anterior and posterior part, basically cavity is made. Now here so that portion I have written that, so here that due to vacuolization process, so here cavity made in both parts, anterior and posterior parts. Now the anterior part along with cavity called anterior chamber, similarly posterior chamber formed in this way. Now as I already mentioned, basically a part lying between this, so here anterior and posterior part, so this is the part, and that part so here gets converted into pupillary membrane. So here that this is the pupillary membrane, this is the anterior chamber, and this is the posterior chamber. So friends, you can see here that this later, so here that this papillary membrane disappears. Initially that this papillary membrane is present, so it is obstructing this lens, but later that this papillary membrane disappears, and as a result of the disappearance that the aqueous humor made in future. So therefore that later the papillary membrane removed, and this leads to formation of aqueous humor. So now in today's video that we discuss about the formation of choroid, and about the ciliary body and iris, and also about the formation of sclera and vitreous humor. Now here if you can see that this choroid is completely formed from this inner mesenchyme, and this inner mesenchyme is also a mesoderm, so therefore choroid is mesodermal in origin. Now here if you see that this ciliary body form from both this inner mesenchyme, ciliary body also formed from this inner mesenchyme, whereas this iris formed from this inner mesenchyme and also from the anterior part of optic cup, basically from the neuroectoderm, and this, so therefore that is iris is both mesodermal as well as neuroectodermal in origin. But here if you can see that this sclera formed from this outer mesenchyme, which is also mesoderm, so therefore sclera is also mesodermal in origin. And just like that, so here a vitreous humor also develops from this inner mesenchyme, so therefore vitreous humor is also mesodermal in origin. And this anterior and posterior chambers also from this inner mesenchyme, which is also a mesoderm. So therefore anterior and posterior chambers or the aqueous humor is also mesodermal in origin. So therefore that is all those portions I have written, that choroid mesodermal in origin, ciliary body also mesodermal in origin because they are formed only from the inner mesenchyme. Now here iris is both neuroectodermal and mesodermal in origin because iris made from the anterior extension of choroid, so therefore mesodermal in origin. But that this so here optic cup forms the, so here musculature of iris, so therefore neuroectodermal in origin both. Sclera is formed from the outer mesenchyme, so mesodermal in origin, and aqueous humor is also formed from the splitting of mesoderm, so therefore it is also formed from mesoderm, so therefore mesodermal in origin. That's all about today's video. I hope that this video helps you a lot. So thank you and thanks for watching the video. So in today's video, let's talk about first development of blood vessels. So as you know that this is the optic curve, this is the inner mesenchyme, outer mesenchyme, so here surrounding the optic curve, and this is the choroidal fissure. Now as you already know that from this inner mesenchyme pia arachnoid matter develops, and also that from this inner mesenchyme also blood vessels develop. So therefore that this is the part of the inner mesenchyme that is going to develop into blood vessels. So therefore that as you can see here that the part of inner mesenchyme which is developing into future blood vessels, they are entering into this optic stalk. As you know that this is the optic stalk, optic curve through this choroidal fissure, and you can also notice that while going through the lens vesicle, that is that this part of inner mesenchyme forming a capsule around this lens vesicle. So therefore that I have written that is the migration of the part of the inner mesenchyme into the optic curve occurring through the choroidal fissure. Now here you can see here that initially that this choroidal fissure was open, but now you can see here that this choroidal fissure has been closed. So therefore that I have marked, so here as these 2 points, so here margins approach each other, so therefore basically closure of choroidal fissure occurs. But for labeling I have shown in this way. So here you can see there that after the closure of this choroidal fissure, you can see that around this lens vesicle vascular capsule made, and also that the part of inner mesenchyme basically which enters into this optic stalk through this choroidal fissure, so here and that, so here converted into hyaloid artery. So therefore you can notice that after a closure of this choroidal fissure, a vascular capsule and hyaloid artery developed on, and this done on the 33rd day of intrauterine life. So therefore I have written that finally on the 33rd day of intrauterine life, due to closure of choroidal fissure, so hyaloid artery form and also vascular capsule around lens vesicle form. But here, and also one thing that you must know that a development of this hyaloid artery and here vascular capsule, so here takes place along the development of other parts. That means as you know that this optic curve, posterior part of this optic curve will develop into retina, and the center part into iris, ciliary body, this also in choroid, all these developments will also take place. So therefore that this is the final, so therefore appearance. So therefore basically sclera formation, choroid, retina formation occurs, and this is a vitreous humor, and here, and this is the hyaloid artery, and this is the vascular capsule, and you can see here that this hyaloid artery, so he passing from the lens and going through a vitreous humor into the optic nerve part through this hyaloid canal. Now so here this is the initial part of the fetal life, now later in fetal life, so here this is the condition, so therefore I written it later in fetal life. You can notice that slowly that this hyaloid, so here artery that is which was developed, it is slowly disappearing, and as a result you can notice that the, so here vascular capsule which was there around this lens vesicle was also disappearing, but only hyaloid canal remains. So therefore that I written that. So therefore, initially the lens vesicle was vascular during the fetal life as it was getting blood supply from the hyaloid artery. But later in fetal life, due to disappearing of the hyaloid artery, the vascular capsule around the lens vesicle damaged, and this is the region how. So here basically lens becomes avascular from vascular structure. And if you study in today's, so here basically human eye, so here in adult you can notice that this lens is avascular, not vascular. So here this is the region how this lens becomes, so here avascular from vascular because of the disappearance of the hyaloid artery. Because of the disappearing of the hyaloid artery is the main reason. So therefore that this is the, so here human eye of the adult. So therefore that in adult that this lens is avascular, but so here initially in fetal life it was vascular. So this is the region. And also as I already mentioned that is hyaloid artery also disappears, but the hyaloid canal remains, and this is the vitreous humor. And also you can notice that in normal, so here at present human eye also, so here that is in the vitreous humor also, that this hyaloid hyaloid canal present, and this lens is avascular. So here and finally that this development, so here takes place along with the development of other parts also as I mentioned. So here optic nerve is there, retina, choroid, sclera, ciliary body, ciliary iris, cornea, all these parts are there. So here in this basically development of blood vessels occurs. Now here basically you should know what happens now later. So here that these blood vessels, that is which goes here, and this part, so here so becomes the blood vessels of retina, central vein of retina also, as you can notice. But that so here, but the artery which is present in optic nerve stays, and this artery so here supplies blood to retina also. So but so here disappearing of hyaloid artery occurs, but only in such a manner that its lens becomes avascular, but a blood supply to this, so here retina and to other body parts, so here remains. So now, so here let's discuss about the development of the eyelids. So first of all, that you should know that what are the so here structures so here involved or so here necessary for development of eyelids. So first of all, that the two structures are basically, you can see here that the so here ectoderm, so here surface ectoderm lying above the cornea and below the cornea. So therefore that eyelids development occurs due to the folding of the surface ectoderm lying above and below the lens vesicle. Now here, now in the upcoming part you will be able to understand how this development occurs, but at present only the basically surface ectoderm lying above and below the cornea, they are responsible. So finally, as you can see here that this is the mesoderm also. Now here that you can see that here the overgrowth of the mesoderm occurring, and due to this overgrowth of mesoderm you can notice basically folding of ectoderm occurs. So therefore I have written that due to overgrowth of the mesoderm, the folding of the folding of ectoderm made. Now as you can see here, they basically that these folds enlarge and they are approaching towards each other. So therefore I have written that the ectodermal folds enlarge and these ectodermal folds, they are approaching towards each other. So finally you can notice that these two folds, they have approached each other and fused, and here you can notice that as a result, due to fusion of these two folds, which the margins of these two folds is space missed, that is known as conjunctival sac. And you can also notice that from this conjunctival sac, so here buds arise, and these buds, they are responsible for the so here lacrimal gland growth. So therefore I written that finally the two folds fuse with each other, as a result a shape made due to the fusion of the two folds, and that space is known as conjunctival sac. And you can also notice that these buds which arise from a conjunctival sac, that they give rise to a lacrimal gland, As a result, lacrimal gland formation occurs. So here that's about development of eyelids. Now here development of, so here nasolacrimal duct. But before discussing this nasolacrimal duct formation, you should know that this is the maxillary process and this is the lateral nasal process. You can notice that between these two processes, basically a furrow is there, and that furrow is known as naso-optic furrow or nasolacrimal furrow. So therefore that I written that naso-optic furrow lies between the junction of maxillary and lateral nasal processes. So therefore that is naso-optic furrow, they are also ectodermal in origin. So therefore you can notice that this is ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. So here this is a naso-optic furrow, and here you can see here that this, so here burying of this naso-optic furrows ectoderm occurring. So therefore I have written that ectoderm of naso-optic furrow buried, and also you can notice that finally that is after the burying, that is solid coat formed. So therefore I written finally due to the burying of the ectoderm of naso-optic furrow, so here solid coat formation occurs. Now so here this is a solid coat, this is the upper part and this is the lower part. So this is the lower part. You can notice that this lower part is in contact with the nasal cavity. So therefore later that this lower part, so here develops into nasolacrimal duct, and this upper part develops into nasolacrimal sac. So therefore I have written that due to the connection of the lower part of solid coat with the nasal cavity, it is converted into nasolacrimal duct, and the upper part, so here converted to nasolacrimal sac. That's all about today's video. So now some important questions. So here basically you have to know the blood vessels of eye are of which origin. So as you can notice that all these blood vessels of eye like that the blood supply to retina, choroid, they are formed due to this inner mesenchyme. So here basically that is part of inner mesenchyme developing into blood vessels. So therefore blood vessels of eye, they are formed from this inner mesenchyme. So therefore all the blood vessels of eye, they are of mesodermal in origin, because inner mesenchyme are also mesoderm. And second point, as you can notice that here basically that is eyelids are formed due to the surface ectoderm lying above and below the cornea. So therefore from this surface ectoderm they are formed. So therefore eyelids, they are of ectodermal in origin. And also you can notice that this nasolacrimal duct is also formed due to this burying of this ectoderm of naso-optic furrow. So therefore basically that this nasolacrimal duct is also of ectodermal in origin. So now I am going to write. So that's it about, so here blood vessels of eye, mesodermal in origin, eyelids ectodermal in origin, and nasolacrimal duct ectodermal in origin. So that's all. So in today's video you learned about the development of blood vessels of eye and how lens becomes avascular from vascular structure, and about the development of eyelids and nasolacrimal duct. So that's all about today's video, and thank you for watching. Stay tuned. So this is the revision of eye development embryology. So first of all, that as you know that this is a neural tube, and this neural tube divided into three parts: prosencephalon, mesencephalon and rhombencephalon. But now I want to discuss or mention about this prosencephalon. So first of all, as you know that this is the cavity of prosencephalon and this is the wall of prosencephalon. And now if you see that from this prosencephalon there is neuroectodermal outgrowth occurs, and this neuroectodermal outgrowth of the prosencephalon is known as optic sulcus. So therefore that I have written that optic sulcus grows due to a neuroectodermal overgrowth of prosencephalon. So now if you see that this is the proximal part of the optic sulcus and this is the distal part of the optic sulcus. If you see that with respect to the previous one, that is the proximal part has become narrowed and the distal part has become dilated. So therefore the proximal part becomes optic stalk, whereas the distal part becomes optic vesicle. And also if you see that basically that this is the surface ectoderm, so therefore that if you see that the portion of surface ectoderm above the optic vesicle becomes thickened to form lens placoid. So therefore that I have written that the proximal portion of optic sulcus becomes narrow to form optic stroke, whereas the distal portion of optic sulcus becomes dilated to form optic vesicle. Now again, now if you see that this is the layer of the surface ectoderm. Now the lens placoid, so here sinks below the layer of the surface ectoderm to form lens vesicle. And finally that lens vesicle gets separated from the surface ectoderm. And simultaneously if you see that during the separation of the lens vesicle, the optic vesicle gets converted into a double layered optic curve. So therefore that I have written that the lens placoid separates from the surface ectoderm layer to form lens vesicle. Finally the lens vesicle also separated and the conversion of optic sulcus to optic curve occurs. So now if you see that this optic curve encloses the lens vesicle from all sides except from the inferior side. Now if you see the initial diagram, so here initially that is optic curve was not, so here enclosing the lens vesicle. But now if you see that in this diagram that is optic curve is enclosing the, so here lens vesicle from all sides except from the inferior side, that is optic curve has not completely enclosed the lens vesicle from the inferior side. As a result, that is in the inferior side that is a small opening made, basically choroidal fissure. So therefore that I have written that the optic curve encloses the lens vesicle from all sides except from the inferior side. As a result, a small opening made called choroidal fissure. So now I want to discuss here about the development of retina. So as you know that already that this is the optic curve. So first of all that is optic curve. So here divided into posterior part and the anterior part. And again basically that this posterior part of optic curve divided into two layers, outer layer and inner layer. Now if you see that is so here outer layer converted to pigmented layer, that is outer layer converted to the pigmented layer and the inner layer converted into the nervous layer. Now again further divisions, that is from this nervous layer, so here again three layers form: layers of rods and cords, layers of bipolar and ganglionic cells and the layers of nerve fibers. And again when this nerve fibers, so here move into this optic stroke, then this optic stroke converted to optic nerve. So that's all I have written, that posterior part of optic curve divided into outer and inner layers. Outer layer differentiates to form pigmented layer, whereas inner layer forms the following layers: layers of rods and cones, layers of bipolar ganglionic cells and layers of nerve fibers. And also finally due to a migration of nerve fibers into optic stroke converted into optic nerve. That's all about the development of retina. So now I will discuss here about the development of choroid and ciliary body. So as you know that this is the optic curve, this is optic stroke, and this is the inner mesenchyme surrounding the optic curve. Now here, so this is the diagram, and now if you see that this inner mesenchyme, so here differentiates to form choroid. Now anteriorly it is connected to the ciliary body and posteriorly it is connected to this optic nerve, and the anterior extension of this choroid is basically ciliary body and iris. So therefore written that inner mesenchyme develops into choroid and the anterior extension of choroid leads to the formation of ciliary body and iris. Now here if you see that in this again diagram, that this is the anterior part of the optic curve, and that this anterior part of optic curve extending into the iris. So therefore I have written that the anterior part of optic curve extending into the iris. And if you see that due to extension of this anterior part, you can see that, so here slowly that is anterior part extending, but initially that is there is no musculature in iris. But now if you see that due to the extension of this anterior part into the iris, so here musculature of iris, basically muscles of iris form, due to which contraction and dilatation of pupil occurs. So therefore I have written that musculature of iris may due to extension of anterior part of optic curve into the iris. Now the next part is about development of sclera and cornea. So friends, if you see that this is the optic curve, this is the inner mesenchyme surrounding the optic curve, and this is the outer mesenchyme surrounding the optic curve. As you already know that this optic curve develops into retina and the inner mesenchyme develops into choroid, but that this outer mesenchyme so here develops into sclera. And again, just like choroid, so here the anterior extension of the sclera leads to the formation of cornea, basically all the layers of cornea except the corneal epithelium, and posteriorly also that is sclera is continue with the optic nerve. So therefore that I have written that the outer mesenchyme forms the sclera, the anterior extension of sclera leads to the formation of layers of all the layers of cornea except corneal epithelium. So now, so here development of vitreous humor. So again, so here this is the optic curve, optic stalk, inner mesenchyme, outer mesenchyme, this is a lens vesicle. So now if you can see that this inner mesenchyme, so here extending, migrating into optic stalk through this choroidal fissure. As a result, that is vitreous humor form. So therefore that I have written that due to the migration of inner mesenchyme in the optic stalk through the choroidal fissure, vitreous humor develops. So let's discuss about development of blood vessels. As you can see here, this is the outer mesenchyme, inner mesenchyme, optic stalk, choroidal fissure, and here this is the optic stalk, this is the optic curve. As you can see here, basically that this is the part of inner mesenchyme developing into blood vessels. So here it is migrating into the optic stalk by moving through the choroidal fissure. So therefore that I have written that the migration of the part of inner mesenchyme so here into the optic curve through the choroidal fissure occurs. Now you can see here that basically that is closer, that is choroidal fissure is closed. As a result of the closure of this choroidal fissure, you can see here basically that this hyaloid artery develops and the vascular capsule of lens develops as the part of inner mesenchyme passes through the lens vesicle to form a vascular capsule around this lens vesicle, and then it also goes in the optic curve and then through the optic, and also it comes to the optic stalk also. So therefore that I have written that finally on so finally on a 33rd day of intrauterine life, due to closure of choroidal fissure, hyaloid artery form and vascular capsule around lens vesicle form, and these developments take place along with development of other body parts. So this is the final structure. So as you know that initially the lens vesicle was vascular due to the presence of vascular capsule around the lens vesicle, and hyaloid artery was there, and this hyaloid artery also goes into optic nerve to form other vessels. But later in, so here in fetal life, so here basically that this hyaloid artery disappears, and due to disappearance of this hyaloid artery, vascular capsule around the lens vesicle also disappear. As a result, lens becomes avascular from vascular structure. So therefore I have written that initially the lens vesicle was vascular during the fetal life as it was getting blood supply from the hyaloid artery, but later in life, so here due to disappearing of the hyaloid artery, the vascular capsule around the lens vesicle damaged. As a result, lens becomes avascular from vascular, and this is the final structure. So this is the retina, choroid, sclera, ciliary body, iris, cornea, and this is the lens vesicle, but it is avascular now, and this is the vitreous humor. Now that this is the hyaloid canal, basically hyaloid canal persists. Now here hyaloid artery disappears, but other blood vessels which are supplying blood to the eye, they retain. So therefore blood vessels so are supplying blood to retina retain. So therefore central vein of and central artery of retina form, and they found in the adult eye also. That's all about development of blood vessels. So, and here basically the most important and the interesting question is that how lens becomes so here avascular from vascular structure because of the disappearance of the hyaloid artery. So let's discuss about development of eyelids also. So first of all, you know that this is the lens vesicle, this is the cornea, and this is the structure of surface ectoderm above the cornea, and this is the below the cornea, and these two structures are responsible for the formation of eyelids. Now here, so first of all, this is the mesoderm also. Now here, due to overgrowth of this mesoderm, you can see here basically folding of ectoderm occurs. Now as a result, also basically that these folds become folds mate, and these folds are approaching towards each other. Now so therefore I have written that ectodermal folds enlarge, and these folds are approaching towards each other. Now finally you can see here that when these two folds meet each other, or the margins of their folds when they do the fusion, then a space made basically known as conjunctival space, and also from this conjunctival space basically buds grow, and these buds are for the future lacrimal growth. So therefore I have written that finally the two folds fuse with each other, as a result a space made due to the fusion of the two folds, and that space was called conjunctival sac. And also you can see that the buds arise from the conjunctival sac due to the growth of the lacrimal gland. Now, so here now let's discuss about nasolacrimal duct formation. So first of all that, so as you know that this is the maxillary process, and this is the mandibular process, and this is a lateral nasal process. So first of all you should know what is naso-optic furrow. Basically furrow lying between the lateral nasal process and the maxillary process. So therefore I written that naso-optic furrow lies between the junction of maxillary and lateral nasal process. Now you can see here that this is the ectoderm, and this is the ectoderm of the naso-optic furrow. So now you can see here that basically the ectoderm of the naso-optic furrow buried. So therefore ectoderm of naso-optic furrow buried, and here finally due to the budding of this naso-optic furrow solid cord form. So therefore finally due to budding of the ectoderm of naso-optic furrow solid cord is formed. And now you can see here that this is the upper end of solid cord, this is the lower part of solid cord. Now here lower part of solid cord is in contact with the nasal cavity, as a result it is later converted to nasolacrimal duct, and the upper part converted to nasolacrimal sac. That's all I have written there. Due to connection of lower part of solid cord with nasal cavity, it is converted to nasolacrimal duct, and the upper part converted to nasolacrimal sac. That's all about the development of eye also. So therefore that this is the revision video. So therefore that I have tried to make this video as short as can, and also contains as short, because when you will do revision, then if you see all these parts, then the whole eye development embryology will be revised. That's all. So thank you, and please stay tuned for the future videos.